Hi, welcome to What the Flick. Christy and Bibbs are talking about Beauty and the Beast. Alonzo is not going to talk about it, but Bibbs will. Will you please describe the latest incarnation of Beauty and the Beast to us,
I would love to.
Thanks.
Oh my God. Okay, so Disney's latest live-action remake of an animated classic comes to you from the director of Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh. That's true. It is a big, expensive musical with a lot of big stars that is, in some respects, very faithful to the animated film, and in some respects, veers off in some unexpected directions. Let's take a look.
Come into the light. I will escape, I promise.
Look, a girl.
Who said that?
Hello.
You can talk.
Hello, of course. It's all he ever does.
How lovely to make your acquaintance.
Want to see me do a trick? What happens when the last petal falls?
The master remains a beast forever.
And we become antiques. What did you do to it?
Nothing.
Get out of here! Go!
First of all, we have to mention this is a super gay version of Beauty and the Beast. It's super gay.
Just because of Josh Gad, or
people in Alabama are so worried, and Malaysia too. Is it Malaysia also? Like
Malaysia is like boycotting the movie, like they're not showing the movie.
It's too gay, as opposed to other Disney movies, which are not gay at all.
Oh yeah,
this is super gay.
No, well, this is the first. I mean, they say it's their first like gay character that's like openly gay, and they made LeFou, Gaston's sidekick from the animated movie, played by Josh Gad. They decided that that character was simply gay, and that character was in love with Gaston, which is why he followed Gaston to the ends of the earth, even though Gaston was clearly a villain by the end of the story. And I'm not sure. Just to start here, just to start on this point.
Is it so ridiculous?
Well, Josh Gad is great. Josh Gad is very entertaining. He knows how to sell that song that he has about Gaston, but I'm just not sure. He's a little. I'm not sure this is the character to do it with, because he starts out so villainous, and even when they add elements to the story over the course of the film that sort of expand on LeFou's character and give him an opportunity for redemption at the end, that plot kind of falls apart. Like it never leads to like a proper like conclusion with him and Gaston. It just sort of falls away, and he gets to be part of a big action sequence at the end, and it doesn't really function for me. I don't know. So I thought it was a bit of a misstep, and I find indeed many of the changes that they've made don't either feel superfluous, like there's a lot of new songs that just make no impact whatsoever. A lot of the new plot points just create plot holes. Like I don't know. Many of the Disney movies that they're doing in live action now are coming to us, good and bad, with a new perspective. Alice in Wonderland, they're trying to make it into a feminist hero story. Cinderella, they're trying to sort of expand on that romance and try to make it seem less fairy tale and a little bit more plausible, a little bit more character driven. Maleficent tries to completely redefine the way you look at Sleeping Beauty. Beauty and the Beast seems like they're just doing Beauty and the Beast again.
But with like more high-tech CGI capabilities, which you can now do in a live action movie, which does add a cartoonish element to it, ironically. Yeah. But I don't have a great emotional tug, whatever you want to call it, to the animated Beauty and the Beast. Like, it was 1991, right? I was drunk at the Sigma Chi house. I mean, I wasn't a little girl. I don't feel like this
I'm
is
picturing Animal House, but like there's also also Beauty and the Beast playing in the back.
On
VHS.
Like, on VHS. No, I don't. So I don't necessarily feel like, oh, it's my childhood and it's been taken from me and bastardized or whatever. So I went into it thinking like, it's yet another live action reincarnation of a Disney animated movie. And it works in the big spectacle moments pretty much exclusively. Like, Be My Guest is really fun. Gaston is a really fun, big set piece. But I don't know if this is true when you saw it, but the screening I went to, I don't know whether it's just mixed weirdly, but I couldn't hear a lot of the lyrics a lot of the time.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Like overproduced, like too much orchestration.
The mix was a problem, I think, as well. The other thing with the lyrics is that they didn't necessarily change the lyrics to suit this new production. So the Beast talks about, she doesn't cower at my paw. You have hands in this version.
Well, nicely manicured nails.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Or when Luke Evans, who I will say this about Luke Evans. He gets a really good performance as Gaston.
He can sing. Musical theater chops, Luke Evans.
The song no longer describes him, though. You know? He's as large as a barge. You're not. You're Luke Evans. You're very cut, but you're not like, that lyric was written for someone like Dwayne Johnson. You're Luke Evans. You're more a handsome, like surfer body type. So I think that's, some of these alterations, the fealty to the original doesn't function. There's a bit in the opening number, which is the best number in this version, when they're talking about what a funny girl that Belle. And it's the entire town coming out and singing, everyone involved, like all of the little bit characters, they can really sing. It's well choreographed. But there's a bit where like, bonjour, monsieur, how is your family? Bonjour, monsieur, how is your wife? And then it's supposed to be like he was flirting with someone and then the wife like hits him with something. They left that part out, so it just seems so rote. A lot of these, a lot of the personality, the animated quality of the musical, the part that makes it feel lively, doesn't really function. And even the animated parts, for me, had, I don't know, they didn't really work because the character designs were very stiff. Yes, a lot of the CG characters are playing inanimate objects, but it's a cartoon. The animation is actually like, I was talking to my wife who studied animation, and she was pointing out that they added a lot of frames of that animation, and it makes them feel very slow. So it doesn't really feel as lively as it did. It makes the clock feel like it moves very rigidly. And
maybe he's supposed to move rigidly because he's a clock that's moving.
Maybe it's magic, and who cares?
No, but the thing is, I actually found a vague emotional connection to these stiffly moving creatures because they are played by amazing actors.
Yes.
Like Ian McKellen, like Ewan McGregor. It's Ewan McGregor week here on What the Flick because he's also in the Trainspotting remake or remake sequel. See, I just slipped. It's very similar, but
it's a requel.
It's don't call it a reboot, but because like Emma Thompson, you know, as Mrs. Potts, like it's such an excellent cast that they imbue these characters with, you know, it's ridiculous that they can do this, but you end up caring, you know, spoiler, when things happen toward the end.
No, but they really sell that bit though.
It got to me.
I thought they were like, they were kind of beating a dead horse by that, but there's a bit at the end where they're really pushing the emotions and they go on for like a couple of minutes, and I thought it was overplaying their hand.
It's a very long movie though, it's over 2 hours long. If you're bringing your kids, FYI, it's long.
And the original film was quite short, and I understand that you need to expand on the material, because even if just rewatching Beauty and the Beast recently, which I did, it doesn't really flow like a conventional movie. The original film, as wonderful as it is kind of like a series of bullet points, and it works emotionally because it is a fairy tale and it plays in those big beats. But you need to fill that out of it. But a lot of the things they filled it out with don't really work. One thing I did like, and I'll say this, is that they added a prologue with the prince. Explaining like how, like actually, because they just mentioned, and then an enchantress put a curse on him and blah. Like that's just the opening voiceover of the original. Here we see that a bit, and it's like a Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe movie. Like it's really decadent, and you just get this sense of this horrifying excess and vanity that led him to be cursed. And I'm like, okay, this is actually off to a good start. This is a good change. But then they decided to like add an element where we finally understand why. When the enchantress decided to punish the prince for being a jerk, she said, screw it, let's punish all the servants too. Because in the original, it was sort of glossed over. The implication is that people are responsible for
raising him to be a jerk.
Well, that's the new one. The original one is just the idea is that the leader of a country represents the people within it, and the people within it are fine with him, then they sort of share some of the blame for his actions and personality. That's just inherent to the fairy tale. That's just inherent to that just not the fairy tale, to the time period in which it's set. Like that's sort of the understanding of politics. But here they flat out say like, oh yes, well, we were punished too because we saw that the king was raising him to be a little jerk, and we did nothing. That wasn't your job.
Well, they raise him. His mom dies, and they raise him. So they feel they care about how he turned out.
They care about how he turned out. But let me ask you this question:
they didn't do their job.
If the enchantress
had one job,
if the enchantress is going to blame the parents for parenting the child, then why punish the child so much?
You want logic. I don't know why you want logic.
Because they added it.
You have to have a talking clock.
They added
talking
the logic. They added logic, and they don't understand why.
I don't know why.
They added another. I don't know if I want to ruin this, but there's like a new like enchanted thing that the Beast has in his castle that there wasn't in the original version, and it completely breaks the plot. I love it.
Okay,
it's just there's this thing, we do it, yeah? Should we use that later? No. Why? No reason. Oh.
We should talk about Emma Watson, because she is your beauty, and she's cute. You know, I'm gonna
be kinder to her than you are, I think.
You know what? No, It's the same problem people have with Emma Stone in La La Land, right? You don't have
She's
somebody
not the
who's a
best
great
singer.
vocalist. I mean, she's fine, and again, like it's so massively overproduced that who knows what she actually sounds like. A machine makes her sound like what we eventually hear. She's much more versatile than she probably gets credit for being Hermione for much of her life.
Oh,
right?
everything I've seen her in besides that, Percy being a wallflower, she's really good.
But no, she is, and so she has to. She's in a tough spot, right? Because as Disney tries to redo these animated classics, they tried to add a stronger female quality to the characters, which I appreciate.
And Belle was already pretty strong to begin with. That was kind of what she was famous for.
Yeah, so she's not a princess. She's feisty. She's smart. She reads books. So she's like your badass kind of no nonsense. She speaks her mind. She's not passive. She's very assertive, and so she's good. She's fine in this. She's good in this.
I like her too.
Yeah,
I do wish they'd had someone who could really belt the number, or even just dubbed her. I mean, who cares? Honestly, at this point, if you're gonna auto tune it, like I'm not saying I don't know if they were auto tuned. It sounded a little bit like it, but I don't have the actual information. If you're gonna go that far, just have someone else sing it.
That's
who
what
cares?
you're actually saying. So and then as far as like the actual physical connection between her and the Beast, I mean, yes, technology is amazing now, but there's still a jarring kind of, to use a phrase Alonzo likes, uncanny valley quality.
Oh, I don't even know. I just wasn't convinced. Uncanny valley is when it's like too convincing and you don't want, and you can't quite accept it. Here, I actually didn't care for their visualization of the Beast, partially because just their design. They took away the animalistic qualities. The Beast doesn't walk around on all fours now. The Beast isn't, kind of more like a lion than anything else. He looks like a tall goat man.
He's a goat.
He's kind of just a goat.
He's got
and
horns.
that's not really that bestial. That's not really that scary. So it doesn't really sell that plot point very, very well. And they took out the elements of the face that made him more animalistic, like a snout, for example. And it just looks like they kind of projected Dan Stevens' face onto the Beast. Now, I'll say this for Dan Stevens. He gives a great vocal performance.
I had no idea.
He's
I didn't
really
know he
talented.
could sing.
I love Dan Stevens. I think he's a fantastic actor. See The Guest.
The Guest is great.
The Guest is fantastic.
That's the main thing I know him for.
Yeah, and
I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Or
Downton Abbey.
It was Downton Abbey.
I don't watch either. He's in one of them.
He's great, and I remember here thinking they're going to cast him as the Beast, and I'm like, cool, that's a great idea.
But he's still like hunky with facial fur.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't really sell the idea, does it? That like, oh, all this stuff doesn't matter. I'm like, yeah, he looks like he's doing cosplay. Like, yeah, I would hit on him too. Like, he seems fine. One of the issues I think there is with her relationship with the Beast isn't so much the design of it, but in actually the amount of time they spend together. Now, in an animated movie that's kind of rushed, you can kind of gloss over it in a big montage, and they even do that here.
There's a montage here.
But here, there's all this extra time. And rather than use that time to actually have Belle and the Beast interact, find out more about each other, properly fall in love. Like Cinderella and the Prince in the live action Cinderella, I buy their connection over one conversation more than I do Belle and the Beast over what is presumably at least a few days, if not a couple of weeks here, because
they read poetry together.
They read poetry together, but here's the difference. That's kind of all they got. They have, both of our moms were dead, and
they're both named Martha.
They're both named Martha. Like, no, that's all they got really is both their moms are dead and they both read. And I was reminded of that movie They Came Together, which is a wonderful parody of romantic comedies where the two protagonists bond over their love of fiction books. Oh, you love fiction books? Oh my God, I also love fiction books. And that's what it feels like, because all of the genuine information she gets from him about, she gets about him anyway. Oh, here's what he's like, here's why he's like this. She gets from the servants. She gets in these big exposition dumps. And I think this is one of the reasons why she doesn't necessarily have a chance to come out as much, is because this is a two-hander, and one of the hands is kind of tied behind its back for a lot of it.
It's a paw, the hand.
There you go. It's not a paw. He's just got long fingers. Like, it doesn't really feel like a paw to me.
And this definitely works for me more in the big spectacle element of it versus like the dialogue, and that was especially glaring to me in the scene where, spoiler or whatever.
It's the tale as old as time.
Well, come on, there are no spoilers here. When Gaston is trying to rile up the townsfolk, it just felt, the way it's staged, the way it's blocked, the way it's shot, just the dialogue itself, it all felt really stiff to me, and it felt small in a way that the rest of the film does not feel small. It felt clunky. It didn't work for me.
By adding this element of doubt, they adding this new plot element with LeFou and Gaston, they kind of hobble the Gaston subplot a bit, because the whole idea of Gaston, at least in the original, is that the entire town loves him. He can do no wrong. He could shoot someone in the street and no one would do anything to him because he's popular and handsome and everyone digs him. When they do the Gaston song in the original, everyone is excited to sing this Gaston song. This is like their favorite Friday night activity is praising Gaston because everyone freaking loves Gaston. Here, LeFou kind of has to pull some teeth to get people to sing this song. The implication is that not everybody likes him. So this whole mob mentality, rallying around the person just because they're handsome, even though they have no substance, kind of falls flat. It doesn't play the way you would think it would. And it's just one of the many things where you added this thing. I realize you wanted to flesh out the story more, but the story is really simple. And I think maybe a better approach in the long run would have been focusing more on Belle and the Beast rather than adding incident. So again, there is good stuff here. Some of the performances are really, really, really great. The original music is still great. The new songs, they're not bad. They just don't have that same impact.
There's a song that the Beast sings when he is like sad, which is not very good, and it goes on for a long time.
It goes on for a long time, and it doesn't seem sad. Like it sounds more like triumphant. There's something because it's like
they're all soaring. They're all
kind of him
giant
saying,
songs.
It's kind of him saying, "I'm not gonna miss you," but there's no irony to it, so it doesn't really have the impact it needs to have. The production design is great. Again, I think a lot of the casting is good, and the story is so inherently solid that I don't think it's going to be a huge watch. I think of this movie a little bit like I think of like some of those huge epics that linger because of their epicness and not necessarily because they're all that great. Like, this isn't like a one-to-one comparison, but if you look at like the original, like not the original, like Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor, it's this big production, a lot of amazing actors in it. Some of them are fantastic, some of them are not, and you can watch it and you can be fascinated, but it's not always very good. That's how I look at this Beauty and the Beast.
This is not as bad as Cleopatra.
Oh,
this is not that
I would rather watch Cleopatra, honestly. But
okay, so
I'm
what's
not
your number? Then give me a number.
A 4. There's too much good in it to say it's terrible, but I don't recommend this. I don't think it holds up to the original, and I think even on its own, it's a mess.
I'm saying 6. I'm kind of mixed on it. If you're thinking about bringing your kids, there is some scary stuff in the forest for very, very little kids. The forest is dark and snowy and perilous. And there's some kind of dark, scary stuff when you first meet the Beast too. So I think really, really little kids are gonna have a problem here. Nick is 7 and Jaden didn't care. He was fine. He liked the teacup. He liked Chip, the teacup.
He was okay.
He was kind of cute.
I got nothing against Chip.
Yes,
he was cool.
Impish and sprightly. So anyway, our number is a 5. It's at 68% on the tomato meter, but dropping. So see it. If there's nothing else to do this weekend,
there's a lot else to do this weekend.
Okay.
Live your life. Live your life.
Watch college basketball.